Okay, so you're on from 6 to 9
Yes, ma'am.
every morning. That's 15 hours of actual on-air time. Then there's preparation time.
A lot of preparation. Much more goes into prep than being actually on the air. It's one of the dirty little secrets.
What are the purpose? What do you try to accomplish in that morning?
That's a good question. Well, a very good question. The first thing I try to accomplish is to be as local as I can be, but still do enough national stuff for two reasons. A, I honestly think I'm good at it, or reasonably good at it. But the other reason is I don't want to lose the local audience either, because let's say something happens nationally that's significant, like the hijacking of a ship recently. I don't want you turning to some other station because they're covering it and I'm not. So we'll go, like we were fortunate enough, we have a Fox correspondent who was in Kenya and covering it for us. Okay. So we can hold you for the national issue just enough while we do the local issue. And the other thing is to keep it interesting and to keep it moving forward. If you listen to the morning show, you'll notice there's this sense that it's always moving forward. In fact, I have to remind myself, for just a little subtlety here, a little housekeeping, I rarely say we're back because we didn't go anywhere. And they had to teach me that. They really did. I mean, that beat it into me. Because night radio is different. You know, you do a half hour with someone, blah, 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 blah. There's one commercial break in the middle. But morning radio, my God, it's news, traffic, weather, a break, community calendar, interview a guest. And you got to get the guest out on time or the clock will punish you. You know, something will start coming up, the computer will start playing something if you don't. So it's so that whole sense of moving forward and trying to hold the audience at the same time and keep your head about it and keep your eye on the clock. So moving forward and holding the interest of the audience. Do you have many people who tell you they listen from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock? That's you asked me that off air too. Yeah, and that's been a big surprise. They tend to be retired people, obviously, because other people are to work already. But a lot of people who do listen regularly listen to the whole show, and I'm shocked at that. When someone tells me that. I mean, I love radio.
Repetition.
Like before I got my own show, I was a huge Don Imus fan. I don't think I ever listened to 3 hours. Well, the only things we repeat, and it's something that the station doesn't tell me not to repeat anything, and I could repeat interviews, and every once in a while, like if Mr. O'Shaughnessy does a very special interview with someone, I'll repeat it. But normally, other than the news, because you have to assume people can't listen for the whole 3 hours, maybe even only 40 minutes, we repeat the news. We repeat a long version at the top of the hour, slightly a shorter one in the middle. But I almost never now rerun the same interview in the same show. I try to keep it fresh. It's a little more work, but I think it's better for people who listen all day.
Of course, do you ever take an interview and run different parts of it?
Yes, and I've learned over time not to do that. Unless I can run it back to back, because let's say you're getting the kids ready for school, or you're getting ready to go to work, and you hear the first part, and I say, okay, we'll be back, we're going to run the rest of it. You listen at 7:20, we're on the next at 8:20, you may not be able to hear it. I try not to do that too much unless it's someone extraordinary, and then now I'll try to run it back to back.
Now you have the competition of television, you know, in the morning, at least at home, but then you have the cars, when people are out in their cars.
Well, that's what we hope to. You know,
where you get
television's great, and we're doing it now. But you can't watch it in your car without taking a huge risk. You can't watch it while you're getting the kids ready for school. You can't watch it while you're shaving. You can't watch it while you're taking a shower unless you look through the glass. So we've got you a little bit.
So you've got that audience. It must be interesting to know people wake up to you sometimes.
They tell me that. So I wake up with you every morning. Everyone's, you know, we do the St. Patrick's thing. Mr. O'Shaughnessy's been doing that like for 40 years now here in New Rochelle. And a woman came in about 4 o'clock.
For those of you who don't know about this, St. Patrick's Day, every March 17th, WVOX takes over Dudley's.
Yes, we do. And we're on the air for 5 hours. Mr. O holds court.
He has a ball.
Like
he has a great time.
Yeah. And, well, so people come in to see what you look like. And this woman comes in. It was kind of funny because she says, I wake up with you every morning. I said, well, thank you very much. And she looks at me. You know, the way you kid about yourself, I thought you'd be heavier. But I also thought you'd be bigger. You're not a bad-looking fellow, but you're a little bit of a thing. I said, oh, well, gee, thanks. But so it surprises people. But I'm always amazed at that line when someone says they get up with me, or that they'll say they start listening from 6:05. That still amazes me. When you're doing it and you're so involved in doing it, you're aware that you're communicating with someone, but you don't. It's almost hard for you to believe that anybody's listening. It's one of the oddities about radio. But I can tell you this: when you get regular callers and you get to know them, it's a lot of fun because you connect with them the same way you would like a friend on the phone.
Right, and you do get some repetition.
Oh, I've got about 6 or 7 regular callers, and maybe more some days, depending on the topic.
Yeah, I'm always shy about calling, and every now and then I have an opinion.
Well, most people don't call. I mean, that's historic throughout radio,
yes.
And the ones that call tend to call often. And the morning show's a little different than the others. And at WVOX, we have this policy of open. We don't turn down calls. You can be, you know, an axe murderer as long as you're out on bail. We're going to put you on, and we don't tell anybody you can't call in. We do try and limit if somebody calls too much in the same show.
You've got so much content for your morning program.
But in the morning show, we take less calls. We're trying to take more now because people have asked for it. But we have open phones all day. In the morning, we try and pump out information and do interviews. But I like to take more calls. I enjoy it.
Do you have a certain type of guest you like, at 6 o'clock versus an 8 o'clock guest?
Yeah, sure. You put on different types of guests.
Right.
Political wonks, I like to book early. I like to book interviews with candidates later and towards the end of the week. And if I think a guest is going to be very interesting or very local, I'll put them in the middle in the 7 o'clock hour, where a lot of people are going to be in their cars. And like guests, if I think it's something very funny, I'll do it on a Friday, where people are lightening their moods. I think about that, but you don't always have that luxury. If I get a chance to interview someone who's very special, it could be a Denzel Washington who grew up in Mount Vernon or someone like that, I'll do it where they can do it, obviously. But I'll try and shoot for 7 or 8:20 or 6:50.
And a lot of your guests simply call in, don't they? They don't have to come to the studio.
Yeah, because the longest interview we're going to do is maybe 10 minutes if it gets that far, and it doesn't pay for them to come in. But some people like to. For example, when you've been on, you come in.
Yes, I'm 5 minutes away, and it's kind of fun
to be in a radio
studio.
And there's that woman, Teresa Klump Leghorn. She always comes in.
Right.
That crazy woman works for the city. She's actually working the camera thing. But she's a great guest, and she comes in person. It adds something when someone comes in. It really does. And you make a connection. You really do. I mean, I pretty much, and I've heard this from people, which is the nicest compliment I get. I'm pretty much the same person on the air as I am off, except I'll try not to clip my words. You know, that's probably the biggest difference. And I'll fight to be objective. You know, you asked me before, what do I try and do? When I write the news, which I write every morning between 4:30 and 6, when I write the news, I try and be totally objective and just tell the story. When I'm doing commentary, I will say my opinion, but trying to be fair is the hardest thing, because people will come in and make a really good point on the other side of an issue, and you want to bite your tongue and say, God, they're so right, but you know, I struggle with that. I struggle with that a lot, trying to be fair.
Like what type of commentary do you do, and how much commentary?
Well, it depends on what it is.
And
I try and do at least one monologue a show. And in a monologue, I'm either raising a question or giving my opinion. And there are different types of monologues. Some I just need to vent and get it out there. And others I am soliciting a response. And so my monologues over the last couple of years, or the last 5, 6 years since I've been on the air, they've not been very kind to George Bush and his administration. I've tried to give him credit where credit is due. But also a lot of monologues locally. I mean, one of the monologues I went on a year ago involved the League of Women Voters, where some of the people in New Rochelle were upset that you didn't give them enough time to question the candidate. You give everybody the same amount of time. And I did a monologue. That's a monologue I would do. I said, and a lot of the people who were there listened to the show. You know, the people that love politics tend to listen to our show if they're involved in local politics, because we're the only place that does local politics.
Right.
So they were calling up the next day, they should have given us more time. And I'm saying, but if you were at the basketball game and the game ended and it was 98-97 and the Knicks lose, it's over. And that's how they stay objective.
Right.
Well, they're not being objective. I wanted more time. I want to run away with Victoria's Secret models, but it's not going to happen.
And he wanted more time than his opponent.
Well, there are a few people, yeah. So,
yes,
but so you'll take an issue like that,
That's always a problem we have with debates, because sometimes it might be valuable to give people 5 minutes. Other times they take 5 minutes and have nothing to say. So you want it moving.